Jessica Brevoort, and this is Kitchen Table Productions, a show about living well with low carb. Well, I was asking my friend, a chef friend of mine the other day, in preparation for the show, what she thought about souffles. And her groan of pain gave me my answer. Now, most people, including my friend, think that souffles are just not worth the effort. Too much hassle, very annoying. I couldn't disagree more. Yes, they are a little bit more effort, but they are so worth it. Nice, light, fluffy, cheesy. They are just fabulous. So today I'm going to show you my single-person version of a cheese souffle, and you can judge for yourself whether or not it's worth it. So I'm going to show you right now. Our first step to get started is to preheat our oven to 375 degrees. Now I'm going to start by separating my two eggs. The whites will be going into the mixing bowl. And really, I only need one of these yolks. I want to get as much of this white out as possible, saving my yolks. There we go. My hands are inscrutably clean. And you have to be careful when separating the whites from yolks if you're going to whip them, because the slightest trace of fat will prevent your whites from frothing. There we go. Now as for this extra yolk, I'll probably just turn it into a custard. Okay, now that our eggs are separated, we can turn our sights into preparing our baking dish. Now I'm just going to rub the insides of this with the butter. I've got a little bit here on a paper towel. It doesn't have to be a thick coating, just all over, all up the sides and in the bottom. Alright, now I've assembled all my ingredients here, more or less in the order I'm going to use them. It's always a good idea to pre-measure your ingredients for this recipe. That way, once you start cooking, you don't have to stop. If you have to stop and measure out a quarter of a teaspoon of anything, you're probably going to overcook this. Alright, here's my double boiler. I have it going over medium heat. And I've melted in it a half a tablespoon of butter. Now I'm going to make a roux by adding an equal amount of flour. That's this. It's a half a tablespoon. I'm just going to stir it with my whisk until it's smooth. It won't take long. I'm also going to cook this. General good rule of thumb for a roux is to cook it for 1 minute for every tablespoon of flour you have in there. I only have a half a tablespoon of flour, so about half a minute should do it. I'm going to pull this off the heat. I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of milk. Just going to stir that quickly right on in. There we are. It doesn't take long for that to come together. I'm also going to add in a pinch of salt and a scant pinch of cayenne pepper. To me, a pinch is about 1/16 of a teaspoon if you want to measure it more precisely. Now I'm going to put this back over the heat. I'm going to cook it until it starts to thicken. There we go. That's looking about the consistency of heavy cream. So again, I'm going to pull it off the heat. I'm going to add in about half of my cheese. I find a cool area to hold this with. There we are. Next, I'm going to mix in my egg yolk. And now the rest of my cheese. Now I'm going to put this back over the heat until that cheese melts. You can keep an eye on the cheese. This whole thing looks orange, so you can keep an eye on the cheese by kind of pulling it up the side, and the unmelted bits of cheese will just, you'll be able to see them. They'll be a little bit darker against the lighter orange. You want to use a nice, strong, sharp cheddar. The more strongly flavored the cheese, the cheesier your souffle is going to taste. Now it's looking pretty smooth, so I'm going to pull it off the heat. And whisk in my final ingredient. This is a pinch of a powdered mustard, again about 1/16 of a teaspoon if you want to be precise. Just give that a good stir. I'm going to stir this until it's comfortable to touch this bowl. And then I'll be free to take a whip up my egg whites. Alright, now here's our 2 egg whites. I'm just going to beat this up with my electric mixer. There we go. I just want to beat these until they're stiff but not dry. They should be shiny and have a bit of a peak to them. There we go. Beautiful. Now we fold. Alright, here's my egg yolks. I'm going to take about 1/3 of the whites and just use it to lighten up the yolks a bit. You notice how I go down to the center and then scoop up and over. Alright. Now I'm going to reverse the process by putting my lightened yolk mixture back into the whites. And again, I'm going to unfold to incorporate. Just down in the center, up and over. When that's mostly mixed together, I'm just going to pull out my baking dish. Slide my souffle right on in. Now, as I said, this souffle is going to rise. And when it does, if I'm not careful, it's going to want to go over the edges. I don't want it to do that. I want it to go as straight up as possible. And I have this little trick. It's called top hatting. What we do is we take a knife, we're going to put it about 1/2 inch down and 1/2 inch in. And I'm just going to turn the cup as I go around with my knife. It doesn't have to be a sharp knife. Any sort of knife will do. I'm going to go all the way around. Just like that. And that's going to make it want to come straight up more than go out. Now I just have to take this and pop it in my oven. Okay, now we're just going to cook this for 1/2 hour at 375. We are leaving this door closed no matter what. Loud noises won't cause your souffle to fall. That's a cartoon myth. Don't worry about that. But opening and closing your oven is going to cause it not to rise as much as it could. So just leave it alone. Trust it to be in there and do its job. There we are. Golden, beautiful, delicious. Now, souffles do start falling the moment you take them from the oven. So when I'm making this for a group of people, I'll generally call them to the table about 3 minutes before it's done. That way everyone is ready and seated when this beauty comes out of the oven. Let me just show you how beautiful the texture on this is. Oh, so light and airy. If you can afford the carbs, I would definitely recommend serving it up over a nice piece of low-carb toast with some butter on it. And it's just absolutely to die for. Well, that's the souffle. Now, I showed you the single-person size today, and 1 serving of this souffle is about 6 carbs, so just a little bit over, about 6.2. Now, on my website, kitchentableproductions.net, you can also find the same recipe, but with a 4-person volume, which is, of course, a much bigger vessel. Now, this is so light and luscious and fabulous. I really recommend trying it. Now, whenever my mom and I get together, we travel the distance to be with each other. In a weekend, we will always have a souffle because we just love them. Well, that's the recipe. I hope you try it. My name is Jessica Beaufort. This has been Kitchen Table Productions, and it's time for me